Alright, so hopefully you guys feel comfortable a little bit more with all of those scales and all of the notes and everything. If you're still a little bit confused, I'm going to have another video just going over 2 more scales. That'll be really brief, so that's a good way to review, or you can just go back and watch the previous video and skip around as much as you feel comfortable with. So now what we're going to do, I am not sure how much sight reading you guys have done in past courses, because I'm just going into this blind since all of the assistants from last year are gone. But it's a really, really good skill to have, and eventually, not this semester for you guys, you will have to do the proficiency exam, and I know that there's some sort of sight reading that is going to be involved, whether it's sight harmonization or just sight reading a piece in general. So this is going to be just an introduction to how to sight read, or a review if you already feel a little bit comfortable with it. So if you can flip in your books, we're going to go to page 192. This is going to be backwards, as I've discovered, filming these videos and everything, but it'll say reading at the top right here, and you'll go down to the second example, which says 731. So, put that back. So, when it comes to sight reading, most people are a little bit intimidated by it because their brains immediately shut off anytime that you do something stressful, and sight reading is very, very, very stressful. It's still stressful for me, not this piece obviously, but other, the things that I have to sight read, whether for accompanying or just for my lessons, they're really stressful. So it helps to have a little bit of a game plan going into it, so you're have some sort of idea of how to get started, and then once you get into it, it should get a lot easier. So, a few big things to check at the beginning. Go back from where your first notes are and check before that. That's the most important thing because that's where it's easiest to miss. It's not right in front of your face as you're trying to figure out the notes. So, clefs look normal. We got treble and top bass on bottom. Then we take a look and we look at our key signature. We've got 3 flats in this case. So, that can mean a number of things. Mainly, it could be a major key or minor key. If it's going to be a major key, it's going to be E flat major. If it's going to be minor, it's going to be C minor. So what you have to do is you can take a look at the very last measure, or most times the very first measure, and see what notes you have going on. In the first measure already, you can see you have C in the left hand, and then C and E, it would be E flat, in the right hand. So that's going to kind of clue you into this is probably going to be a piece in C minor. The more pieces that you read, the more helpful this will be to know, especially as you get comfortable with the key signatures. When I see that and recognize what keys it's in, my brain just goes, okay, let's add these flats in and just watch out for flat natural signs that are going on through the piece. So, the next thing, time signature is really important. Most of the time you can kind of figure out what's going on 2 measures in, but it's better to figure it out before you even start. Now, a big thing that I'm going to stress with any sort of sight reading, please ignore the tempo marking and please ignore all of the dynamics. This is sight reading, and unless we're at a level where we're trying to sight read for a performance, I don't care about that. So let's change moderately fast to, let's call it largo, or so deathly slow that we're at quarter note equals 30 or something. Whatever tempo you think that you can handle this at, then I would tell you to do that tempo. If you know I think I'm going to start around, moderately fast, maybe probably a little bit slower than that, but you know that that's going to be hard to keep up with, then don't do that. Obviously don't do that. You have to sight read a little bit more to figure out these things as well, which is kind of unfortunate, but it makes sense. So I would suggest not only just sight reading through this, but we're going to have an assignment on the next page, but the other 2, I would encourage you to try to sight read through those. You can also just flip back through the rest of this book, find something that looks relatively easy, not super scary, and I would try to sight read that first. Okay? Alright, so now I've already given you what your first notes are in each hand, so I'm going to swivel you around to right here just so you can kind of see what my hands are doing. You can't really see exactly where I'm at, but I think that you guys have had enough class that you can figure that out. So, start by putting both of your hands where they're supposed to go right at the beginning. Now, if you have a piece where you have to start right at the same time, that's not going to be an issue. But let's say the right hand doesn't actually start in this piece until about 4 measures in. You're still going to want to put your right hand on there because you don't want to get 3 measures and be like, wait, where's my right hand? What's going on? And then you start getting off, you start getting out of tempo, and you start hissing notes and everything, and it just keeps going downhill from there. I've been there, I've done that, it's not fun at all. Okay, so like I said before, in the left hand we've got C, and then our finger number is going to be 1. Thumb is 1. I'm sure you guys all know that, but just covering bases. So you're going to put that there. Then that's good. Go to the right hand, and we're going to have 1, so our other thumb, on C, way up here. Which you guys can kind of see over my left hand now, but if you have good posture and you keep your arm kind of at this angle, then you shouldn't be able to see it. So, okay, so you're going to start very slowly. So I'm going to give you guys a tempo to start off with, and then it's up to you if you want to practice this on your own what tempo you go at. But we're going to go super slow for right now. So probably about 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Good. And I forgot to mention I just wanted to do the first line so that you guys can do the second line by yourself, but that's okay. I would encourage you, you're probably going to see this and be like, oh, that's what we're doing. But if that happens, go back, rewind a little bit, and try that with me and see how well that goes. When someone else is kind of driving you and you can't stop, then it's going to be a little bit more pressure-filled, and it's also going to feel a lot easier when you're doing it way on your own. Welcome to the world of being a collaborative pianist. You don't have time to think, you just have time to go. Okay? So I would encourage you to do that with me, and then by yourself a little bit, and do the second line. And then do also 7:30 and 7:32 as well on your own time. 7:33, so on page 193, number 4, where it says Andante moderato, is going to be our assignment for this week. Yay. So you can try sight reading through that as well, but I am going to have a separate video over practice tips. Okay, so I think that's it. Have a game plan in mind. Look through the piece as much as you can. Your brain is a little bit stressed out, so it might miss something, so the more time you can take to prepare, the better. Okay? Eventually, it'll get to the point where you're so used to it that hopefully it'll only take you about, a minute, depending on how long the piece is, to glance through it and realize what is important, what you can leave out, and how slow to go and everything. But sight reading is just as important as any prepared repertoire, any prepared harmonization, all the scales and everything. I use it quite a bit, not intentionally, but it is something that's going to pop up not only in the piano, but on your instrument as well. And I said in another video for a different class, whatever skills you have gained from playing another instrument, obviously the mechanics are going to be a lot different. However, you can take whatever you're doing with that and apply it to this as well. And also the positive thing, though, is that unless you're a percussionist, the endurance level is not going to fade quite as quickly. So that's a positive. So anything that you do that's successful, you can do it over here. Happy sight reading.